A day after the Marlins have an outbreak of COVID-19, 17 members of their team had tested positive for the virus. And that day, or the day after, we got a beanball war, right? It's awesome. Joe Kelly took it upon himself to be the righter of all wrongs. Should be pointed out that Joe Kelly wasn't on the Dodgers when they lost in the World Series to the Astros, but he was with the Red Sox. This from Bob Nightingale of USA Today. The Dodgers manager Dave Roberts said that he got a call from MLB officials and expects a decision soon. I'm sure it was soon on Joe Kelly. He also said that MLB officials weren't pleased with players and staff not observing the social distance protocols. Yeah, the beanball thing will handle, but man, you guys were too close to one another. Why? Because Major League Baseball knew this was bound to happen. Let's check in with Dan Byer. He's got an update on this breaking story.
Breaking news from Fox Sports.
Yeah, Doug, this just in. Dodgers pitcher Joe Kelly received an 8-game suspension for his actions during last night's game against the Astros in Houston. He was previously suspended in his career for intentional throwing and has obviously doubled down on that yesterday. In addition, Dodgers manager Dave Roberts received a 1-game suspension as a result of Kelly's actions. So 8 games for
That's
Joe
a lot
Kelly.
of games.
Dodgers skipper Dave Roberts gets 1 game.
How many guys did he hit?
Well, he didn't hit anybody, really. I mean, but he threw at Bregman and Correa. If I'm missing someone.
I thought he hit Bregman. Who hit Bregman?
No, it was a 3-0 pitch.
Yes.
Oh, 3-0 pitch?
Yes. Dave Roberts is going to serve.
So he didn't hit anybody, and he gets 8 games?
Yes, they determined that his prior record of intentional throwing was
Well,
the
he's always
reason.
intentionally throwing. He's a pitcher. But I'm messing with you. I'm messing with the statement,
Sure.
right?
Dusty Baker was fined for the actions of his club.
So this is inherently the problem in MLB not doing anything to the players when they were banging on trash cans and to help them win a World Series, right? It's like, you're not going to bang on trash can. Now you're going to suspend a guy, basically 1/7 of the season, and he didn't even hit anybody, and he struck Correa out. That's the equivalent of a 22-game suspension in 162 games because there's only 60 games. That's more than the baseball saying like, nah, we ain't doing that. What's interesting, though, is, and I'm sure some of it is, it causes guys to not social distance, right? That feels super hard. Baseball does not feel the way Doug Gottlieb Inc. does. Doug Gottlieb Inc.'s like, hey, baseball, polices itself. What they don't want it to be is a season long. Every time an Astro steps into the batter's box, they get the tower buzzed. They get the tower buzzed. So, am I wrong, Byer? That seems more than harsh.
Well, I think that people will say that Joe Kelly got more than any of the Astros did for, their role in the scandal, I think is what you're going to
Dave Roberts got more. Dave Roberts got more than anybody in the scandal.
Dusty Baker just got the job and now has to take up for his fine. Specifically, I don't know if it was the fine for the Astros leaving the bench, if it was, any social distancing stuff, but the Roberts, by the way, going to serve a suspension. Kelly is appealing his suspension, but yeah, it is a lot. I guess to your point, it's like, yeah, they want this to end now, but also then it's, Major League Baseball, maybe it wouldn't have changed things if they were to receive a penalty, but I do think that the lack of penalty for the Astros allowed this to more than likely happen.
Yeah, it is I think this is a bad look. I fully understand what they're trying to do. They're trying to go like, hey, we just can't have this all the time. We can't do it. We can't function. We can't do the social distancing protocol. We can't do all this stuff. But 8 games is too much. Yes, Ryan Music.
Do we think that they chose 8 as a benchmark for anyone, or specifically because he's a pitcher, they know that really only means like one
But
start?
But it's different now though, because guys aren't doing the starters are different than they used to be. Yes, I would say if it was again. Traditionally, if you were suspended 22 games, that would be, 5 starts you'd miss? Okay, 5 starts, which, again, would be super harsh. Super harsh. And as 8, Could you be missing 2 starts? Yes.
I guess, yeah,
but you
technically-
also could be. They're using pitchers differently now than they traditionally do.
Ramos brought up a good point. He's not technically a starter.
Right. He's a reliever.
So I guess
He's going to miss probably about 3 games, I
games?
would say. Like
Okay.
starters would get the 6-game ban because then you'd have to miss their start and their rotation more times than not. That they would work around it. But again, they're saying repeat offender when it comes to Joe Kelly, that was the reason why.
Repeat thrower of the baseball. Like, yeah, I throw the baseball all the time. Intentional thrower. Yes, I intentionally throw it. Intentionally throwing at somebody else. Oh, you didn't say that. Well, I saw it. I liked it. I think that's one of the cool things about baseball. Within reason. Right? There's all these things within reason. And you don't hit a guy above the neck. If you throw it behind him just so he knows what you meant to do. I'm okay with that. That's how baseball polices itself. We're pissed. We're still pissed. We haven't forgotten. Everybody else might have forgotten. We haven't forgotten. I got no issue with it. 8 games, I do have an issue with. Like, I think in COVID, a substantial punishment is 5. 8's a lot.